Friday night brings the very latest news from around the world and close at home in the UK. Dave takes it on, searches out what's happening, what's new, what's failed, and just a few revelations. So settle back for the main stories, followed by the quick, breaking, lighter-hearted news items at the end. We begin with Australia. Once the best friend of the coal industry, has just announced that combining rooftop installations and commercial solar PV farms, South Australia at lunchtime on Sunday the 5th of November this year produced 126.7% of the state's total electricity demand. Wow! A whole state, nearly 2 million people and countless businesses running entirely on solar. And you can bet a huge amount of the excess went straight into grid-connected battery storage for later use. Well, GM Cruise self-driving cars appear to be not so much as a reality after all. I've long stated that geomap driving is not real driving. You have to program into these cars every single possible and likely and probably some seemingly impossible parameters, and you only find out the ones you missed when the car reveals it, when it's out on the road full of passengers. Well, first we need to find that the cars regularly need human assistance, typically a remote driver employed to keep an eye on them and take over when necessary. And that necessary is happening every 3 to 5 miles. They never told us that, nor apparently did they tell the authorities. Somebody should lose their job over that. But now we've experienced a fatality. No, the car's not to blame. I believe that another car, an ICE car that was speeding, hit a pedestrian and threw him directly into the path of an oncoming cruise robotaxi. No clever computer in oil can prevent this, and most likely the unfortunate pedestrian was probably already dead before the cruise ran over him. It slammed to a halt almost immediately. I was still on top of him. And here we see the flaw. In the event of an accident, the robotaxi was programmed to pull over to a safe place out of the way of passing traffic. Nobody had thought to program it with, please check underneath, and if there's a human there, do not move until emergency services arrive. Well, it moved. Well, it's not the end of robotaxis, nowhere near, but it is the first hiccup on the road to autonomy. And second, another example of not quite telling the entire truth, getting you into more trouble than the original event. Well, the painting of any vehicle, EV or ICE, is a huge cost, both in time and money. It's the slowest process in the entire factory, spraying up to 18 coats of various materials, paints and lacquers, and having to allow each to dry and be polished before the next can be applied. Anyone who's ever tried to emulsion a wall too soon at home will know that the new coat simply removes the paint that's the still wet paint underneath. Yet people still pay many thousands of pounds or dollars for a special paint for the new car from the factory. Tesla announced factory-installed colour apps for their Model 3 and Y. I previously forecast that Tesla would offer the new sub-£25,000 car with or without painting, and wrapping companies would spring up to take over. For those who don't know, wrapping uses really thin, sticky PVC or some other plastic sheet material. It is now so thin and generally well installed, it's difficult to see it's plastic. Well, the advantage is twofold. First, it makes the car very much cheaper out of the factory. You buy it in a budget-friendly stock black or white, and if that's all you can afford, that's great. You ignore the extra $5,000-6,000 for an optional paint finish you would have liked and drive it around for a while until you get bored of it or you save up a little bit. It only costs about $2,000 or $3,000 for a full professional wrap in any colour you choose. You effectively get a new car. Well, Tesla announced factory-installed colour wraps for the Model 3 and Y. For those happy with the stock colours, go ahead and order. But for those who want a personalised finish, Tesla take the car off the production and hand it over to the wrapping department. Prices are currently around $5,000-6,000, so not cheap, but you can take it yourself to the local wrapping company and save some money. I see this as a huge growth business that the others will, Legacy Auto, follow. Tesla's Superchargers featuring the latest V4 chargers are now going in so fast that groundwork teams are finding they cannot keep up and have a hold up on the delivery of the chargers. The sheer number of V4s is almost unbelievable, and all future installations use nothing else. Great news for Tesla drivers and even better news for non-Tesla drivers. The old V3s are now redundant. Well, maybe offer them to BP at a discount. Now for the disastrous crash in EV used car sales, as reported by the mainstream media. And again, they've steered directly for the sensational rather than the factual. Both in the States and the UK, EV used car sales prices are definitely dropping. But this is mainly because the price of new EVs is also dropping quite noticeably. The Tesla Model 3 is now the same price it was way back in 2017. But in America, you also get £7,500 off that due to subsidies that weren't available then. And that even includes the brand new Model 3 refresh, or Highlander as they call it. Matt Watson of CarWow and others have stated there are so many differences and improvements that it should actually be classed as a brand new car. You don't often hear that from ICE car refreshers. Is it a worry? Well, my car's dropped in price, but when I replace it, the new car is now so much cheaper and so incredibly better. Yeah, a couple of years ago, it was great to see the price I could sell it for exceed the price that I'd paid. But that doesn't last. We all know new cars drop in value. But apparently not the price of new ICE cars. Sales of ICE cars are nowhere near back to their pre-COVID levels, despite promotions and adverts. We just aren't buying new ICE cars in any serious number. So Legacy Auto has just kept on increasing the prices to keep the profit margins constant, or in some cases improving. ICE new car sales reached a peak back in 2016 and has not got anywhere near that level ever since. Because of the drop in sales, both manufacturers and dealers have concentrated on the higher model specs and increasing their prices. Base models now are exceedingly hard to come by as the profit margins on those are too low. Margins on the premium models are very much higher and they actually cost a little more to make. So prices have been rising steeply at a time when the world is turning against ICE cars full stop because of toxic pollution levels and the introduction of the EV. Sales of EVs are now a serious threat to Legacy Auto, being cheaper thanks to subsidies and taking the title of best-selling car in the world away from Toyota. Add in the huge increase in interest rates and they have the perfect storm. Stand by. If you want a bargain ICE car, there will be huge discounts around Christmas as soon as the manufacturers and dealers realise that this temporary drop is actually here to stay. And maybe they've gone a little bit too far with the pricing. Watch out for discounts. Well, this actually is the subject of an in-depth look at ICE car sales in the future out on Saturday. Don't miss that one. VW, Ford, Mercedes all announced that their plans for EV, announced only a few months ago, have now been scrapped. They cannot sell what they already make. In China, Mercedes have offered discounts of up to 50% in some cases, and there's still no buyers. I'd love to say I told them so, but they won't listen. China sales figures are crashing for legacy US and European manufacturers, but booming overall, exponentially for the better EVs than those produced in China. Wow, never saw that one coming. Elon in his secret master plan stated, and I paraphrase here as always, if you make a compelling car and offer it at a price your customers can afford, they will buy all you can make. Well, maybe Legacy missed the compelling and affordable phrases. Toto Wolff was at it again for you Formula One fans. Well, here's the CEO of Mercedes Racing, whose cars were utterly dominant for many years, but lately seem to have forgotten how to make a fast car, while Red Bull, with Max Verstappen, are winning every single race. Asked by the media if the FIA, the governing body, should intervene to level the playing field to make the sport more exciting for the viewers, he replied, again, as always I paraphrase, "No, it is my job and the team's job to make a car that is competitive and capable of winning races. We must not hold back Red Bull just because they've made a fantastic car this year. I'm actually pleased for them. They show us what is possible." He then apologised to his drivers, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, for not giving them a car that is capable of winning races. Wow! Well, Legacy Auto, please take note. Don't try to stop Tesla. Admit you got it wrong. Just make better cars at a competitive price. Okay, that's around the world. What's been happening at home here in the UK? Well, disaster. Our venture into government-sponsored battery production comes crashing to a halt. The original company first went bust and the government stepped in with subsidies and help. They found a buyer, but all is not well. That company never actually paid the agreed price to buy it. A large chunk is still outstanding. Now it seems that the people whose jobs the government saved have not been paid for months. Well, way to go, Rishi. You'll soon have the UK back on its feet at this rate. Oh, and talking of Rishi, a £1 billion grant from the government specifically for improving EV charging, issued 3 years ago, has, it seems, well, not spent a single penny of it. Probably still in the committee stage of deciding how to distribute it. I suggested swallowing your pride and giving it all to Elon. He'll have a new network up and running before next Christmas. Well, just an idea. Well, despite absolutely no new money from the government, the installation of EV chargers is flying along. Well done GridServe once again, a largely British company who's installed more chargers this year than the total ever of networks like Fastned and Osprey. And well done for installing the ultra-rapid 350 kilowatt chargers, not shared power, not shared bays. Not many can use this fast speed, but those who can, I'm sure they thank you. Tesla storms ahead of GridServe, looking to install more new chargers this year than GridServe already have in the UK, and all of those being the future-proof brand new V4s rated at 250 kilowatt. There is an installation going on just a few miles from my home where they're putting in 15 V4s, and one of the bays specifically is for disabled and wheelchair users. Well, this is a first for Tesla that I have seen. Well, completion is scheduled for the end of the year, delayed because they just cannot get enough chargers fast enough. This installation will feature in a future video. And finally, a few quick mentions. I see yet another ICE versus EV video on the Land's End to John Groats run from several sensational YouTube channels. Why? Seriously, why? And the answer is that the EV doubting viewers simply lap this up and the videos make them a fortune. Am I jealous? Yeah, in one way. I'd love their money. But seriously, what use are these to people thinking of buying an EV? Many of you know I lived in Falmouth in Cornwall for around 30 years, only about 30 miles from Land's End. I did a huge mileage, all of that in petrol or diesel cars before I bought my first EV, and in all those years I never once ever thought about driving to John O'Groats. It's a ridiculous trip that would serve no purpose in the real world. I've been challenged by many of my viewers to make my own realistic, non-sensational video, but why? There is nobody thinking of buying a new EV who will ever do this journey for any purpose other than to say, I've done it. And those like me with Teslas will find it not being much of a challenge at all. Just an awful long way and a long time. Motorway services are at last getting serious about EVs and upping their game. Many have descended into squalor and on the point of closing. Others are upgrading and refreshing to cater for the new opportunity that EVs offer. I have started on a mission of visiting all the motorway services that I can reasonably reach, and it is both sad and inspiring. Watch out for this video. Well, I visited Wales recently and found their new 20 mile an hour speed limit. Well, and do most drivers not like that? Well, I simply select the 20 mile an hour autopilot and find it easy and relaxing. Are people really in that much of a hurry? But more importantly, with today's traffic, does anyone even get up to 30 mile an hour on the way to work or to drop off the kids? If it saves lives, I'm all for it. And if it stops those idiot racers from killing innocent pedestrians and children, it should be compulsory everywhere. Well, that's all the news today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching my regular Friday night news series. Please subscribe to catch the next episode, obviously next Friday. I'm Dave.